First, thank you very much for these 3 talks. I'm sure everyone in the audience joins me in thanking you. They were so interesting, and I think there were so many different strands that seem to run through them. The big questions of visibility, invisibility, language, and its relationship to materiality. Even down to sort of an iconography, the house, food, I thought. This question between domestic comfort or domestic ritual and this sort of vulnerability, of the house and the stilts and the beds on the stilts again, so sort of raising up the sort of danger zone. But I sort of wanted to take it back a little bit to Karena's talk yesterday, when he talked about, he raised briefly this question of collage as something that runs through so much of the practice that we're going to be talking about. And I think I mean that in a montage, but in sort of the loosest sense of bringing together disparate things, disparate feelings, or first disparate experiences to create new meanings. And I think, again, that was something that seemed to really run through, the disparate materials of Permindar's practice. I thought just, So if you wanted to, or if you could speak a little bit to that sort of creation of meanings, both as in sort of modernist sense, as a sort of form of high modernism, isn't it? But also in sort of broader terms as well.
I think one of the kind of interesting ways that that we can think about montage, and it's something that Sabina Kriebel, the art historian Sabina Kriebel, who's written a fabulous book on John Hartfield, has said that it's a persuasive medium. It's about taking, particularly photo montage in this case, actually, she's talking about. But I like the idea of it being a persuasive medium. And the fact that, there's a sort of inherent sense, there's an inherent violence initially in a photo montage practice. The sort of slicing with a blade through the sort of homogeneous image, fracturing it, and then sewing it back together again to persuade something else, to persuade about a different message, if you like. And I like that idea of kind of fragmentation and multiplicity. In collage generally, actually, Lubena doesn't just use photomontages, actually. I think there's a kind of collage aesthetic at work, perhaps, in some of her paintings as well, actually. I don't know if
Well, the making new meanings, that obsession, a part of it is because somehow we're not entirely happy with what's on offer, the binary system, and part of it, I think it should be practically it should come with the job as being an artist, to be able to reinvent yourself constantly, and escaping to be fixed and frozen to one particular question. I think life is too short. You have to, decide. You shouldn't be decided between black or white. You suggested grey, but there are plenty of other colors too, and one should embrace all this potential.
Yeah, I was wondering if that linked in a bit with we were very interested in, I think it's Merleau-Ponty's idea of the difference between looking and seeing. Looking being something that is already written, already preconceived, already sort of established within paradigms and language, and it's almost as if it's like in the film when I wrote and Vong spoke, to see Lao I need to suspend all that I know of it. So the sense of, and then Merleau-Ponty compares that to seeing, which is an entirely kind of free, fresh act, where you can encounter something in all its materiality and in a kind of, it's probably quite a utopian, maybe impossible idea, but worth aspiring to, being able to encounter something or someone without the circumscribed meaning. I don't know if that offers something.
For me, the interest is to try immateriality. It's just to try use materials in a new way or use new techniques. And then the difficulty is to try and create a nice balance between the two materials, or how the two materials can join seamlessly. That creates a tension. Like you see copper, like some clawed works which I haven't showed, how you don't expect those two materials to join in that way and to feel normal, but they do.
Okay, I'm going to start to ask audience members if they have any questions or comments that they'd like to put to our presenters. Are there any immediate responses? I mean, we're going to quite happily talk away, but you know, I'm wanting to open it up a little bit so that we can start to get some responses from the delegates here.
I probably didn't understand fully, this is for Permindar, but when you said about using red copper, I think I probably misunderstood you. You said something like you enjoyed using it because it represented the other, the exotic.
Yeah.
You're saying that in irony?
Next,
so
when
using the colonial language that's being projected onto, or and it oxidizes, I didn't quite understand that.
Okay, no, it's just when I first started using copper, it was, I had made this large billboards and these had these huge speakers. And I wanted those speakers to represent the voice of the other. And because when you use copper, it's seen as something precious, quite beautiful, while steel, for me, always feels like a very Western material, or iron feels very Western. But when I use it now, it doesn't always mean the other, but it tends to have that meaning attached to it.
I mean, one of the things that I'm going to throw in a question, unless there are other people who have a response or a question to make, is in some ways in all of the presentations there was a sense in which everybody is an interloper. They're somehow out of place.
That's the title of my show.
And so I kind of wondered about this, not necessarily it in kind of binary sense, but what all of those awkwardnesses are about, you know, and whether it's this conference and the research project that we're doing, or one's sense of practicing in general, this question of being almost matter out of place. And so I just wondered whether anyone could kind of respond to that, because it seemed to come up all the time.
I'd like to comment on that. It's because the last show I did was called Interlopers, the one at the University of Hertfordshire. So I was looking up the words and the meanings and where that word came from. And the first time that word was used was to do in the business sense, when there was other businesses, other interests who wanted to make their way or have business, like the main company, like the East India Company. It referred to that, while other companies wanted to take some of that pie, have some of that business, to take a bit of it over. So it's, if you see that we want to, in that sense, could be, we want to be seen in the mainstream, or take some of that, have some shows, or in that sense, maybe.
Or I guess we want to sort of explode the mainstream, maybe, and just rupture it and shift it, and I think it comes back to what Claire was saying about this idea of seeing rather than looking. The position of the interloper allows you to see, I think. I think that's what it gives, I think.
It reminds me a bit of when we created the words for the film. You just saw an excerpt from All That Solid Melts into Air, Karl Marx. It was a very interesting process, and a very, very layered one, and I think it kind of links in with what you're saying in a way, Sonia. So we had gone to Laos, Vong had gone back to Laos from where he was, so he'd gone back as a British citizen, with a very particular position as a British citizen, to a country where all his family still live. He was very much an interloper, and I, of course, was even more of an interloper. Vong had semi-access to the language, but only as a 10-year-old child, which is when he'd left, and I had none. So there were all sorts of complexities going on there, but for the actual creation of the dialogue for the film, so Vong created the imagery and I created the words, and they were brought together in the editing process. But if you think about the words, they were written by me, they were then translated from the English into Lao by a Laotian poet. They were then spoken in the voice of Vong, in Laotian, in the voice of a 10-year-old, in a sense, and then translated back into English so that the viewers in this context could read it. So there's sort of so many layers of carrying across and translation and retranslation and interloping and coming back and going forward, and it was just an extraordinary kind of sort of multifaceted, multi-meaning sort of process to go through. I'm not sure if that adds anything to the conversation.
I just like one. Also, the interloper word comes from the Dutch, and it means vagabond, the landlubber.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
there's another little side note.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody, for the presentation.